David McSweeney, you have been involved in SEO since 1997, former head of content for Ahrefs. You ran your own e-commerce business from 2006 to 2012, consulted for 15 years. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
We're going to be talking about some of the biggest myths in SEO and GEO today.
Okay, yeah,
And somebody sent me this viral LinkedIn post. And this viral LinkedIn post was the catalyst for this episode. So
right,
somebody
yeah.
wrote, I published a completely blank website, white page, zero visible content, but 7 layers of structured data underneath. JSON, LLMs.txt, ED25519 signed entity claims. Within 36 hours, it became the #1 cited source in Perplexity. ChatGPT cited it independently. No human ever saw content on that page. Completely blank website. White page, zero visible content, but it had JSON, it had LLMs.txt, it had these entity claims. And so to start this podcast, David McSweeney, do business owners and SEOs need to pay attention to JSON LD, LLMs.txt, and these signed entity claims to get more visibility in AI?
Yeah, I mean, your local plumber has to get these signed entity claims implemented immediately, otherwise they're invisible to AI. Of course, I am joking.
Yeah,
I
he's
mean
being sarcastic.
that particular study, uh, I didn't hate the study. At the end of the day, people doing things and experimenting is good. Um, Unfortunately, the takeaways from it were completely flawed because the problem was the first thing I did was I looked at the source and there was text was there. That was what was getting ChatGPT and Perplexity are very naive, crude parsers. Google is more sophisticated. There's another issue there. We'll come on to that. But ChatGPT and Perplexity would have just got Markdown, which would have been the HTML content that was in the source. They don't care about the fact it was screen reader only. They would have seen the text.
Sorry, they don't care about the fact that it was what?
It had like a screen reader only class on it.
Mm-hmm.
So the text is that if you view it in a screen reader, you can actually see the text. Um, but the point is, it wasn't a blank page. There is readable, indexable, parsable content on it. You could have stripped away all the other 7 layers or 9 layers or whatever it was of weird made up jargon, and you'd have got the same results. Or in my opinion, you'd have got the same results. Um, it seemed to morph though. The guy's original thing was he said I think it was within 24 hours, I was cited in ChatGPT and Perplexity. Now, the other problem is cited for what? What was he cited for? And it turned out in the comments he was cited for a very specific search for this very specific thing that he had invented, which existed nowhere else on the internet. So if there's nothing else to index or cite, then of course, if you're the only option, then you're gonna appear for that.
This method of marketing is so effective, I had to make sure it wasn't against Google's rules before I kept using it. It's a form of SEO I call compact keywords. Whereas most SEO focuses on putting up articles to answer questions, how, what, when, compact keywords focuses on putting up dozens of pages that sell to searchers who are actually looking to buy. These pages rank on Google and convert so much better than normal that when I discovered this years ago, I couldn't believe this was allowed. It's less work too. The average compact keywords landing page is only 415 words. Compact keywords is a 13-hour deep course on getting sales with SEO. A customer said, "We spent nearly $18,000 in the last year and a half on marketing and SEO through different agencies locally, and that did nothing. We decided to take the leap on the compact keywords course. We're now getting about 6 to 8 calls per day on a good day, which is just unheard of. Another customer said, give it to a junior employee, have them follow it exactly as Edwards laid out. You don't have to do anything, and you're going to gain a six-figure SEO level employee just by having them go through this course. Compact Keywords is about setting up an SEO funnel that brings you sales for years and years and years. It works with AI, it's less work than traditional SEO, and it makes way more money. You can get it now at compactkeywords.com. Back to the podcast.
But in his post, he was talking about LLMs, ChatGPT perplexity, but it seemed to pick up and go into another area over the weekends. I think it was Mark Preston, who I know tangentially, had shared it, and then Sean Anderson, another good Scot.
Oh, he's
Um,
been on the show several times.
yeah, I've seen one of his episodes. He has an excellent Scottish telephone voice.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it seemed to go from what the guy had said originally. I was cited in ChatGPT perplexity to Google can index content or pages with no content, which was a completely different argument and a completely different thing. Um, so we had the guy originally talking about, as I say, the LLM side, which is explainable through the fact they would have just seen the content as content. All the styling and everything would have just been stripped away. They would have seen Markdown. It can read. Um, the Google side is maybe slightly more interesting. Should they be indexing blank pages? I mean, no. However, that and where I quite like it, it is an interesting page. Have you tried the Konami code on it, for example?
If I tried the what?
The, the Konami code. Do you
No,
know
can
the
you talk
you know
about that?
do you know the Konami code? Up,
The
up, down, down.
canonical.
The Konami code. It's an old
The Konami code.
yes, the Konami codes from the
No, I
old
haven't tried
right.
that.
Yeah,
Can
so
you
if
can
you
you explain it?
well, I mean, looking at the source, if you go to his for this, I think it's phantomauthority.ai or whatever it is. If you do up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, there's no start. You'll get a matrix overlay thing.
Oh yeah?
So
He put in
yeah,
an Easter egg.
yeah, which I quite like that kind of stuff.
That's
So
cool.
I
I like
mean,
Easter eggs.
if you think about it, from Google's side, how they don't know what it is. They have no idea what it is. And looking at the source, there's lots of JavaScript run. Like I said, this Easter egg thing. It could be an application. It could be anything. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, David Quaid, who I know is on your podcast a lot. I think he's on it just about every second day. Um,
David's great.
yeah, no, he's fantastic. But yeah, he's very strong on the Google being content agnostic, which to an extent, I agree with. I don't fully agree with it, but in the main, I agree with it. But this is
We can do a debate episode in the future.
I'm much more closely aligned to him than yeah, we're closely aligned with most things, I'll say. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, so this could be an example of the very fact that Google's content agnostic. It doesn't know what it is. I mean, there's a JavaScript Easter egg. It could be a game. You know, it could be a game that you get. So if you do this, if you do the Konami code, you get a matrix sort of overlay thing that explains the guy's concept.
That's cool. That's a cool Easter
Um,
egg. So to summarize, basically, to summarize, all of this, all of this text, human readable text, was in the JSON LD, and it like there was actually text for the LLMs to use.
yeah, but not the schema and I forget what you blooming called it, but the other thing he talks about, it was literally in HTML, just standard divs. Like you can go and look at it. It has a class of SR hyphen only, and the CSS hides it for non-screen readers. But yeah, I mean, it was only a couple of weeks after I'd been having a lot of arguments generally about people with the it was after the Cloudflare, you know, on the Cloudflare doing the Mark 7 pages in Markdown, which I'd been or an alternative version of Markdown, which I'd been kind of vocal on. I then was running some tests on ChatGPT, and I mean, I knew the outcome, to be honest, but I wanted to sort of confirm it. So I was running some tests to show that they get parsed parsed Markdown anyway from HTML. And also that they can't see certain elements, they can see certain elements. They cannot tell when an element's hidden or not. I say they, OpenAI slash ChatGPT in the retrieval pipeline. But yeah, so I did hidden element tests, and the hidden elements were ChatGPT could see them and read the content in them. It doesn't care about styling or how things are rendered on the page. It's a crude, naive parser, as I say.
Okay, so imagine that you had this plumber that you talked about as a client, and it's a very non-technical client that you have. You could have plumbers who are technical, but this one it happens to be non-technical.
Mhm.
And this plumber sees this viral LinkedIn post and then says to you like, do we need to be using JSON? Do we need to be using LLMs.txt? I see that you wrote some article called "The Great GEO Grift."
Oh
Uh,
yes, yeah.
do we? Yeah, and we'll talk about that. But the plumber is like, do we like? You're anti. You're anti all of these things. Why should we not be wasting time on
I
that, or
mean,
why? Or
I'm not anti schema and JSON LD. You know, when it for the purposes of what it's
no,
for.
no, for Geo, but for Geo.
Yeah, yeah. It does, I mean, in my opinion, and it is an opinion, and there are conflicting opinions on this. The structured data itself on a page, other than shopping, e-commerce, obviously, price and whatnot. I mean, ChatGPT uses Google's shopping feeds, so it has a direct effect there. But putting your business and whatnot, ChatGPT currently they are possibly moving into having their own knowledge graph. At the moment, they're scraping Google's knowledge graph. Um, I mean, it's worth putting these things in. You know, if you're a law firm, it's worth putting in legal service and whatnot. These are all worthwhile things, but not. It's not going to make you rank number one in ChatGPT, as everyone seems to say. Um, and it's generally going to be stripped. Again, in my opinion, it's going to be stripped out in pre-training. It's going to be stripped out in retrieval, in RAG retrieval. LLMs.txt is another story. That's a complete waste of time. You only need to go and look uh, some prominent case studies. Some of the larger. I'm going to do this a lot, but
Yeah,
the
the quotations.
AEO tools. And they have LLMs.txt. In fact, one of the larger AEO tools, a New York-based AEO tool, probably quite near to yourself. One of their big studies, one of the main things they say they did was implement LLMs.txt. Now, the LLMs.txt, I went and viewed it the other day, is 2.3 megabytes of, Mark 2.3 megabytes of Markdown, which is a lot of Markdown. It's
That's crazy.
9,500 lines. Um,
That's crazy.
and about 70% of the pages went to 404. Um, they implement these things, they don't do anything, leave them to rot. Um, Another one, a major US fintech company, who seems to be a client or a case study of every single AEO tool. I don't know what they each of them do for them. But again, their own LLMs.txt, they have one, and certainly at least two. This was a smaller, this wasn't 2.3 megabytes of everything under the sun, but at least three or four of the links were broken on it, which again suggests it's just been abandoned because it does nothing.
How much of an impact does JSON how much of an impact does schema have on getting more AI visibility?
In my opinion, none other than two things. One, it may possibly from time to time in some cases, I'm being very hedgy here, but because I'm not saying it does nothing for search, but if it helps your rankings and helps you rank higher for certain things, then you're more likely to show up in query, fan out, or search and be retrieved. So that's the first instance. The second one is I mean, I did a quick bit of testing on ChatGPT's retrieval, although admittedly, this was, you know, I still test it all the time, but I did a major deep dive about 5 months ago, which is now an age in the, in internet slash AI time. But at the time, it, and I believe it's still the case, when they retrieve, they get search results or search results, they get search, and if those search have like review stars or pricing information in them from the schema, then they most likely get that in the initial scrape that they get. Either a scrape or a direct API feed from Bing if they're using Bing. They seem to flip flop between a few providers. Um, so the additional information, the review stars and whatnot within the search result, within the initial scrape of the search results you see, may make a particular result more attractive. And in that case, it might help that result to be retrieved. So the
Yeah,
rich
but you're
snippets
you're
in
but
the
you're
search.
you're saying that if the SERP uses schema and then you have schema to increase your click through rate, that's going to increase your rankings, and by increasing your rankings, then you will do better within AI.
Well, two things. One, that is that side of it. But yeah, secondly, is literally when OpenAI, I suppose I should hedge my language, if OpenAI happened to scrape Google through SERP API, which they were at one point, in that feed, because you can go and use SERP API yourself and you can see what you get in the a scraped Google result. They would see the review stars, they would see the price and whatnot. So nothing to do with human click-through behavior or ranking. If it was position 10 and that was the one with the review stars, it may make it more attractive to the
That makes sense.
initial. Uh,
But that also depends on the SERP using schema.
yes, of course, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, you know, I'm for schema. I'm not against schema. You could use the relevant structured data for your site. Um, I think I think the thing with structured data and schema, I'll be honest, like, and a lot of these things with geo people and whatnot, structured data and schema sounds computery. It sounds LLM-y, AI. Other machines, so they want machine readable, parsable, structured data. So that makes you rank higher. When in fact, they've been trained on everything that's ever been written by a human. They can, they're large language models, they're not large schema models. They're designed to parse natural language. So I honestly think that part of the problem is that people want there to be new things and they want there to be things that they can talk about. So a lot of the time, people just say things that sound good, and in effect, they're not actually doing anything. And yeah, like again, going back to the original guy, the guy with the 9 stage or 7 stage, or whatever. I think it's good that people have hypotheses and test these hypotheses, but it needs like extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And if you're going to make claims that something has an effect on AI visibility, then you're going to have to come up with the proof that's not just a lot of these studies are sort of correlation causation studies. They'll say, well, 64% of cited pages had schema. Well, that's just the distribution of content that ranks on the internet. Um, that was a made up percentage there, but you get the idea. And yeah, most of these studies tend to be that, um, and they tend to fall on they go on the size of the data set. they say, we examined, 24 million prompts. It's an appeal to authority. I think David Quaid was like that. He likes his fallacies, his logical fallacies. Yeah, it's an appeal to authority. If we've got a data set of 24 million um, prompts, you can't argue with this here. But in reality, you could look at 10 prompts, and if you tested a hypothesis and came up with something new and interesting, then that's much more. I'd be more interested in that. I'd be more interested in someone testing one prompt if there was something other than add schema, use headings, um, you know, write in clear, logical, structured sentences.
It also makes sense, you know, let's if you're even if you're using Yoast, which is probably the top SEO plugin for WordPress, and so many
Yeah,
sites are made with WordPress and then are using Yoast. Yoast by default will put in very basic schema.
yeah, of
And
course,
so
yeah.
it's like then you're going to have all of these websites that are ranking that are also
Ex
using schema.
yeah, article
By the way,
schema.
for listeners, I'm not against schema. I think a lot of schema, not I think, just straight up, a lot of schema isn't actually used or barely used, and so it doesn't increase click-through rates, and and as or it's just ignored in other factors, and it's not getting you anywhere. It's a waste of time. It's something that SEO agencies will charge clients for because it sounds fancy, when that's not the thing that is going to get the clients results. And the clients are paying for things that aren't going to make them money. And and then there's, like you said, the correlation where it's not actually increasing AI visibility. You know what's increasing AI visibility? It's relevance. It's having more
Yeah,
authority.
exactly, exactly.
You
And
wrote this art. Yeah, go on.
sorry, no, sorry, carry on. Carry on.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask about this article. So you wrote the Great GEO Grift, and you
Mm.
call GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, a waste of time and money, and you say that it is polluting the web.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd had my crunchy that day, so I was a little bit agitated. I don't know. I mean, there are things that are different about search and retrieval, but that's been the case, as long as I've been doing search. I have always, for my to a fault, I'm a very white hat SEO guy and always have been, to my own detriment in a lot of cases. Um, People might call me a fool for that, but when it works very well, and it always it stands the test of time where other tactics don't. But there are changes in search and retrieval. There's changes to the way that the answer and the final part of the process, how people consume the results. But ultimately, they're still searching for a, the answer to a problem, which they were doing in the days of 10 blue links, as everyone says, as if it's some nasty way of browsing the web, which it was not. Um, so ultimately, it's still search. Um, Whether you have to consider certain other things or not, it's still search, it's still retrieval, it's still surfacing information, it's still connecting people to a solution to a problem they have, be that an informational one, a transactional one, or otherwise. And that's the way I see it. I don't think we need new names. I don't think answer engines makes any sense. Geo is a blooming. It's it's a silly acronym because of the fact that it means Earth and it's a prefix to everything. Um, and you even see the funny thing about it now is you may have seen these on LinkedIn. You, you see these like AI generated nano banana infographics about the difference between GEO, whatever it is, AEO and SEO. And a lot of the time now, because pre-training, like the training cutoff for some of the models is before Geo polluted the web. So in a lot of the infographics, they create like GEO equals location specific search. So the guys like are, and it always uses a picture of a satellite dish as well. But I always find that quite funny. You know, the guy's like he obviously doesn't really look at the infographic. He
Yeah.
writes the thing about how geo is a thing, and then the infographic like contradicts what he's saying. But you know, like at the end of the day, all it is a names can't hurt you, and it's just a name. But I what can hurt is the some of the grifting behind it, which I see a lot of, to be honest. And that's why I did the GeoGrift. People trying to sell, repackage the old things as new for one, but also going back to do this, add LLMs, text, add schema, add this, selling services that have no impact or effect. And the other problem with it all is the problem of how you actually measure success as well, which is where I have a big problem. I don't believe in prompt tracking. I very vocally don't believe in prompt tracking. I think it's silly with probabilistic answers. Some people think there's an argument for a directional uh, indicator, which is probably correct. That we have anything better, maybe not. But because we don't have something better, doesn't mean that we say that this is accurate because it's not accurate. It's just not accurate. And the other problem is citations. So the citations don't. If you're cited, it doesn't mean you influence the answer. Um, I had an argument with another well-known person about this recently. He said, I can prove it influences the answer, and he shared a screen recording, and it literally did not. It was cited. He had a citation. The bit in ChatGPT where you click that no one does to view the sources, and scroll down the big list that no one does, and it was there like position 16 or something, but it wasn't a citation. I'd see the actual citations as the one within the answer itself. That's even then it doesn't necessarily influence the answer because of the way it actually works. But that's another story. But if you're a citation within the answer, then there's an argument you've influenced the answer. But the people are tracking this. I was in my visibility went up 3% this month. Well, you know, what did you get from it? What business outcome was there? What how, did your revenue go up? I mean, it's all very immeasurable, and the size of it still. I mean, I'm seeing some strange studies coming out again from a few people trying to claim that it's larger than it is. But I mean, I think we can all see the referral traffic from LLMs, and it's Google is still the predominant source of transactional business, for sure.
Did you see I wanted to ask, did you see Mark Williams Cook duck t-shirts schema experiment?
Yes, I did see that. Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's so he I think it was parsed as text from memory. It was an interesting like
Yeah,
experiment. Like they're
he
all
made up
interesting, yeah.
schema. He
Yeah.
made up schema that didn't exist.
Yeah.
And wrote things about the business in that made up schema. It's not real
Yeah.
schema.
Yes, yeah,
And
yeah.
when asking AI about the business repeated what was in this made up schema, even though the schema isn't real schema, which shows that it was parsed as text, like you said.
Yeah, yeah. And schema wouldn't survive, like so it's not the LLM that tokenizes, it's the tokenizer then is the LLM. And schema wouldn't, and other people have pointed this out, schema wouldn't survive tokenization anyway. So um, it seems people are spending a lot of energy on this argument about schema. And as you said, and I agree, but you should implement schema on your website where it makes sense, but not for the reason that you're going to get more citations in LLM and you'll get to see your line go up a little bit. Because the line might go up anyway.
So that's one myth. So we have schemas as a myth for increasing AI visibility, is it's like a must. We have LLMs.txt as another myth for increasing AI visibility. How about people who say you gotta have like every part of your site in Markdown?
Well, I mean, we've already covered that. They already get Markdown. Um, in part, so I covered this in depth. There's the problem with Markdown. Um, LLMs get delivered Markdown. It's parsed. They get OpenAI pulls down a page, um, parses the page, turns it into Markdown, feeds probably not the full page, the relevant snippets into the LLM. The LLM spits it back. It's not one thing doing everything. There's a parser, and it needs to go through a parser. Even if it's delivered Markdown, it has to go through a parser for security reasons. Like when you're pulling in third-party content, which is what um, fetching is, you can't. It has to operate in zero trust. You can't trust external content. And we all like for one thing with LLMs, you've got prompt injection, so it has to be parsed to strip out any dangerous, potentially dangerous prompt. Even if it's Markdown, it still has to go through parsing. Um, is does it help OpenAI and others to get Markdown in the first case? Yes, it does help them because they don't have to convert the HTML to Markdown and then So, but I mean, I see no reason why we should like they're still going to have to parse it because they cannot trust it. If they do trust it, then they've got bigger issues. But that's another story. Um, a lot of this is about making their lives easier. And I don't think we should be doing that. The web has existed perfectly fine for a long time with HTML. Um, if they want to parse stuff into Markdown for their LLMs, they can parse stuff into Markdown for their LLMs. Parsing is like trivial. Um, what we should be doing and what we should be doing, SEO people should be doing, is making properly formed semantic HTML, with heads, main, nav, etc. That makes parsing much easier. Um, we should be doing that, and that's if they're asking for things, they should be asking us to do that. Um, but the
And
main
those are
problem,
SEO best practices.
yes, well, exactly, yes, yeah. Um, the big problem with the Markdown thing and the Cloudflare and turn your page into Markdown is that very quickly what happens is people start going, well, you know what, in the Markdown version, because you can see that the request was for Markdown, so you can serve a different version of the page in Markdown if Markdown's requested. So you could say, well, in this we'll just put in this little extra sentence for the LLMs. And I know that worked well. Let's just put in this little extra paragraph. And then let's just change the page completely and serve something completely different that humans don't see. And then we have this like two versions of the internet, two sources of truth, for one for humans, one for LLMs. And we're just back to cloaking. We're just back to things that have, like many things at the moment, we're going back like 20 years to things that were done in the past and we're just revisiting them all again. Um, so I mean, this is a long answer, so apologies for that. I don't think people should be turning their websites into Markdown. I don't think they're going to see any particular benefits for doing that. Um, I think the AI companies, it would benefit them because it's going to save them a bit of compute and parsing. But I don't think we should be going about making their lives easier considering they
How
steal
about
all our
how about
content.
how about somebody who gives a cloaked version of Markdown? Are they going to see a benefit?
Now, right now, today, probably. With ChatGPT, yeah, probably. Will it last? I wouldn't have thought so. Google, I mean, well, you're not going to be able to serve the quote one to Google anyway, so we are talking about ChatGPT. But yeah, ChatGPT, like I said, is naive. It's just, It's a very crude, like, so
How
when I,
is ChatGPT getting the Markdown files to begin with? Because it's doing a web search, and these Markdown files aren't made to rank, or are they made to rank? So yeah, what's happening there?
so do you mean that when the website serves Markdown, the the user agent can request Markdown, content format is Markdown, and then the origin server can choose to serve Markdown in response. Um, but that's probably like, I don't know, less than 1% of websites. In most cases, it's OpenAI gets HTML, they parse it into Markdown, and they then forward that on to the LLM. Because the LLM is just a small part of the ChatGPT is an application. ChatGPT is software, and the LLM is just a part of that software. Um, it's not what a lot of people believe that it is. That ChatGPT isn't some Joggeroth going out crawling the internet by itself. You've got basically scraping and parsing, feed it in. You've got semantic scoring to extract chunks of text. Um, the LLM is just a part of the chain that spits out the text that goes to the user at the end of the process.
So for people, what would you tell? I guess what would you tell people who are like, well, okay, he's saying that right now, cloaking Markdown is going to help me.
Well, I mean, many things will help you in the short term, and many things always have helped you in the short term. If your business model and if your plans for your business are short term, then go for it. Like, it's the same with, I mean, I don't know if we'll touch on
How
these
is,
other.
but how is, how are, like, is Google seeing these Markdown files?
Google won't be anywhere near this, no, because Google
Well,
uses
that's
their
that.
their
So
index.
is Google gonna hit you for cloaking Markdown? Who's gonna hit you? Is it gonna be the AI companies?
Well, I mean, eventually, well, it has to be, and that's what I'm saying. They're very naive. They're you can see the results. They're shockingly bad. Like they're so open to manipulate. As is Google, to be honest.
Yeah.
But that's a different story. But ChatGPT is 10 times worse. We know what influences it. We know if you go and write, 20 listicles and put yourself number one, then you're going to show up in chat. It's so crude. Everything is like, again, going back to the rolling it back to the early 2000s or whatnot. Like it's all stuff we've gone through in the past, and it's like they
The
have to
reason the
get they
reason
have to
I'm
get better at it. They
the
have to
reason
get
I'm very
better.
interested in this the reason I'm very interested in this is because from what I've been seeing, doing Markdown, doing like these text only Markdown versions isn't really moving the needle in terms of AI visibility. And so I haven't really seen a lot of these, like, yeah, you can cloak your Markdown files, and that's going to really juice things in terms of AI visibility. So that's why I'm asking more about this. I haven't
But
actually seen a lot of these
but
case
but
studies.
yeah, but if you knew what you were doing, if you knew what you were doing with it, and you served some because going back to ChatGPT and OpenAI's naivety, it does like lean very heavily on like cosine similarity scoring. So you can serve like really robotic, unhuman readable version of the page that are probably going to hit the scores they just get retrieved. So people are probably just if you just serve like Markdown, it's not going to make a difference. But if you serve a cloaked version of the content written in such a way that it would drive a human to insanity, but for a semantic scorer, it's going to hit the right notes, and then an LLM will, weirdly, an LLM then humanize it. The robot will humanize the robotic text when it feeds it back to the user. So, um, I mean, are people doing this? People probably are doing this.
Oh, so you haven't seen case studies?
I've not seen, I've seen people talking about it. I haven't seen specific case studies on it.
Mm.
Um, I mean, it'd be worth someone
Yeah,
doing
this
the case study.
it's interesting. Yeah, I was going deeper on that because I'm like, okay, is this a good use of time for businesses and SEOs? And it
It's
sounds
not a
like
good,
the answer is yeah. The answer is it sounds like it's not a good use of time for
no.
businesses and SEOs. You okay? So something that's very popular in SEO that there are clear results and there's clear before and afters. So you warn that some geo service providers are spamming Reddit and churning out listicles at scale. It's
Yeah.
Reddit and it's their sites. Could you talk about what these practices look like? And then what harm does this pose to businesses and to the broader internet?
Well, how long have we got here? So going back to, I talked about how my philosophy is very white hat, some people are not like, many people are just, you do what works and you
Well,
make,
see, my philosophy is I'm like you should do what works, but a lot of the black hats are playing in the churn and burn space. That's number one.
Mhm. Yeah.
Number two is the biggest wins you get come from compounding a brand and compounding
Hmm.
authority. That's
Yes.
because then you can rank for the really competitive keywords in your niche. So the biggest wins come there. And if you're playing the churn and burn game, you don't get that compounding effect.
No, no.
Uh, and and then these what works right now, these are clearly getting hit. Like the listicles are clear, the self-promotional listicles are clearly at scale.
Yeah.
Self-promotional listicles at scale clearly are not working. Now
Well,
Reddit you can do more sophisticated, but Reddit can also get hit. I'm seeing brands who are messing it up. And that's the other thing. If you're a beginner and you're messing this, if you're a beginner and you're trying to do these black hat tactics and you mess up, the consequences could be really bad. You mess
yeah.
up with a money site that you've been developing for years. Guess what? Now you've gotten a penalty that it's going to be very hard to recover from. You're
Hmm.
trying to spam Reddit because you've never done it before. Guess what? Your entire domain has just been blocked from your favorite subreddit or just
Yeah.
from Reddit as a whole. And this
Hmm.
happens, and you see it happen.
I,
That's my take on all of this.
I would go further than that as well and say that, and Smarty, who I've known for a long time, like well, and Smarty's great, and like she's very good
Yeah,
on
she's
Reddit
been on the
stuff.
show.
And like one of the problems, I mean, I am a Redditor. I'm not a Reddit spammer. I've been on Reddit for 15, I think 2009 or whatever it was. I've been since Dig originally. I've been on Reddit, and Redditors can smell smell self-promotion, smell brands, and never mind like getting banned from Reddit and things. If you're going in and spamming where your customers are, if you're going in and spamming where your potential audience or customers are, then that's going to stick in their head, and you've just lost their trust, you've lost their respect. And there's many, many cases of brands just killing themselves on Reddit, um, because it's not. It's weird. It's like everyone just discovered Reddit in. I mean, Google started surfacing Reddit a lot more in 2021-ish, 2022-ish. Um, I think there was the argument at the time that a lot of people were appending Reddit, site reddit.com to Google searches. And then obviously with the rise of LLMs and Reddit being surfaced a lot and cited, it became more of a, everyone was talking about it. But like, I do wonder, like Reddit has long been one of the most popular websites on the internet. I don't have the current figure to hand, but it's probably been top 10 for a long time. There was always the Reddit effect. If your content hit the front page of Reddit, uh, previous to that was the Dig effect, and then it was the Reddit effect, you would get the Reddit hug of death, and it would crash your server because you get so much traffic. Um, and it was like there's a lot of cases like this, but it's like some people just discovered this hugely popular internet like 4 or 5 years ago, and you get all these LinkedIn posts saying, here's the quiet shift that people aren't talking about right now. If you're not on Reddit, your brand is invisible. Most people don't know about Reddit. Most people like it's one of the most popular websites on the internet. Um, and while I say I'm a Redditor and I'm not a Reddit spammer, I'm not a Reddit spammer, but I did like from time to time on my personal Reddit accounts over the years share things that I thought would be popular of my own or a client's on subreddits. And this is going back 10 years, like, 2015, 2016. And in many cases, they brought in a lot of traffic and they brought in a lot of links. Um, so like Reddit marketing, and if you go back and read, much of it is like, because content gets refreshed, many of the things I wrote were a while ago, but they're all still available in archive.org. And there, a lot of my articles, I talk about Reddit and marketing on Reddit and get going into communities and subreddits and getting involved and being an actual active participant in the community. And as I say, this goes back to 2012, 2013. I was writing this stuff. Because like community going where your target audience is not a new thing for LLMs. What's new for LLMs is going to where your target audience is. Well, it's not new either because people did this for links on forums and whatnot. But people seem to think they can just go in and drop a link, or not a link, drop a blooming. My prompt tracker is the best prompt tracker that ever did track prompts, and then go away. Um, and like it just gets silly. But yeah, like going where your customers are is just the way market. This goes back to the geo thing and everything being repurposed. It's just marketing. Never mind SEO. It's just like you go where your audience is. You have to go to your audience, and it's not a new thing. Like, and yeah, like so many people seem to have discovered it, and so many people talk about it being the quiet shift that no one is talking about right now.
I wanna I had this thought, which is that I know we are going to have in the comments some some people who are like, well, actually, schema does make a difference for getting cited in LLMs. LLMs.txt does make a difference. These things do make a difference, and since just feeling that this is an inevitability, what would you say up front to these people to get ahead of it?
Well, I would say show me your evidence on it. Prove that it was I say going back to the correlation causation. Prove that it was the schema that, uh, and even citations are not even right. But anyway, we'll just say citations for the sake of it. But in reality, it should be actual business, a business outcome. The other problem with this, and this is a long-winded answer, but no one ever shares the prompts. No one ever shares what the searches were. It's like we looked at another one of these tools that does these a lot. We looked at 100,000 prompts and articles, everything's an article, appeared 14% of the time. How-to pages, 13% of the time. But they don't say what percentage of the prompts were how-to queries. If it maybe 13% of the prompts were how-to queries, they say product pages appeared 46% of the time, but they don't say the percentage of the prompts that were by X or by Y. Like everything's woolly and like they just data dump and expect you to accept that data. And I personally require like a reasonable amount of evidence for something. Um, there's no logical reason why it should like if it is as simple as you can go to your website and add schema, then that's a joke. Like that's ridiculous. Where's like who wins? How does anyone win? Everyone just goes and adds schema and says that it's same with listicles, but it's not. It has benefits. I use schema. Everyone uses schema, but not to make yourself more visible in LLMs. Or I might be wrong. Like that's fine if someone wants to comment and tell me I'm wrong. Comment and tell me I'm wrong. Someone messaged me on LinkedIn 2 days ago. I won't give away their name, but they messaged me
What they
2 days
say?
ago. He said, "Yeah, I won't give away the name. Was going to call you publicly on the geo stuff, but that's whack of me, lol. So I took it down. But dude, at least debate me via DM. Why do you hold such a view?" This was Friday morning at 6:59 a.m. Scotland time. No, I was happened to be sleeping at that particular moment. 9:19 a.m. on the Friday, I replied. and said, uh, which view about geo as a term or something specific about AI search, and I've heard nothing.
Uh, all
So,
right. So
like,
here's
I,
yeah.
I
Go on.
love a debate. Like, I love a debate. And if I'm wrong,
Yeah,
I'm wrong. That's fine. Like, that's how we, like, that's how we move on. I mean, like I said, if I'm wrong
that's how we
and
learn.
all you need to do is add schema, then we've got bigger problems. But that's a different story. But yeah,
What
this
are?
guy, prominent, reasonably prominent guy,
Oh, really?
said, yeah, like you would know his name. He's a geo guy. Said, challenged me to like debate me, and then kind of,
I'm so curious who it was. I'm so
I
curious who
immediately
it
said,
was.
yeah, like I immediately said, great, like let's do it.
Share the
Let's
name.
run
We'll
away.
get him on the show, and then we can do the
Uh,
debate publicly.
can't share the name. Can't share the
I know,
name.
I know, I
But
know, I
yeah.
know.
Well, I mean, it might go public anyway, so we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
What are some things that business owners and marketers should look for when hiring people in companies who say that they can enhance AI visibility? So how do people avoid as you wrote the Geo Snake Oil,
Hmm.
the Geo Snake Oil. How do people avoid that when hiring people in companies who can enhance AI visibility?
I think if they're selling it, I think the first thing would be if they're selling it is we can enhance AI visibility in isolation, and then I think that you should run away from them. You know,
You can do good SEO and that
oh,
influences.
well, yeah, yeah, but that's what I mean. If they're selling it, if they're not being upfront and honest about the fact that most of it is out, if they're saying we'll do this work that is SEO will help to increase your AI visibility at the same time. But if they're just saying there are many of these companies will rank you number one. No one searches in Google anymore. Your customers don't go to Google anymore. You're invisible to AI. We can help you rank number one in ChatGPT. If that's their pitch, and there are these agencies now coming up, then you should run away from that. Like, if I mean, and I would also be running away from anyone that's like just saying scale your content, write listicles, unless you have very, very short-term business goals. If you want rank and tank, rank and bank, if you want to just rank for 6 months and then go away and into the sunset, then that's fine. But otherwise, if you're an established business and someone is coming along and suggesting you add, if, well, a smaller, like a smaller site is, let's say, I don't know, 1,000 pages. If someone's coming along and suggesting you add 5,000 pages of skilled content to your website, then you should be running away. You'll see the line go up because indexing is not the problem. And this is another thing that a lot of people there's a lot of these skilled content case studies on Twitter or X. Can't really get used to calling it X. Um, and people are celebrating getting their pages indexed. They're saying I added 10,000 pages, and they show the Search Console chart showing that 3,000 are now indexed. Well, indexing was never the goal. I mean, indexing. The goal wasn't even rankings. The goal was traffic, and then the goal wasn't even traffic.
Sales.
The goal
The
was
goal of
conversions.
sales. Yeah.
Exactly. But indexing was way, way down the mix. Because Google, I mean, generally Google's going to sort of, I mean, if it's an established site that's been around for a while, Google's going to index this stuff and then it's going to drop it out. Like, you know, it's a weird flex that a lot of people are doing on X at the moment, and they're all many of these people are like new to the industry. A lot of people have come from.
Yeah. That's true.
There's a lot of salespeople in the industry now. Um, there's a lot of
Yeah, they try to come on my
the
show and I ignore them.
yeah. So I speak. I've always because I've been writing about this stuff for a long time. I've been talking about this stuff for a long time. I speak very directly in language that the layman can understand or try to. I may fail at it from time to time. There's a lot of corporate marketing speak. I watched a podcast or a skimmed podcast or a webinar from one of the leading AEO companies.
Oh.
And it had the guest on the show was one of the names. He's in a lot of listicles actually of his own making. So if you go and ask who are the top AI search experts right now, he'll be in that list, and you'll know his name. And I skimmed like 10 minutes of it, right? And his six, it was like can't be too specific on it, but there was like a certain amount of tip for the top tactic or the most advanced tactic for increasing your AI search visibility. And they were they were not advanced, they were basic tactics, but he dressed it up in such
Mm.
absolute. They're talking to CFOs. Everyone's talking to CFOs in enterprise now. Uh, they they know how to talk boardroom stuff, but they don't know how to talk directly to
CFOs
people
or
the
CMOs?
language that well, either, the
Yeah.
financial
Okay.
or the marketing. Well, I mean, there you go. I don't care is the answer to that. You're right. It's
Yeah.
probably the CMO. I don't care. I don't use these acronyms, other than when I'm evaluating some stocks, maybe to lose some money on some options, but that's a different story. But that's not marketing language. That's boardroom. Like there's a lot of these people around now. They're not marketers. They're not technical people. They're not the nerds like us.
Yeah.
They're the boardroom. Everyone's talking, and it's the problem with content now as well. Everyone's collapsed into this dull, grey, monotonous, same of the same, uh, Claudisms everywhere, shift
Plodisms.
landscapes. Uh,
All right.
and,
So David, if someone listening runs a business, what are 3 specific things they should do this week to increase their chances of being cited in AI answers?
Three specific things they should do this week. I mean, that's a tough question. It's a tough
Is
question. Yeah, it's a tough question because
I could answer it in 5 seconds.
right,
Is it?
you answer in 5 seconds, then I'll
All
tell
right.
you to agree
Okay.
with you.
All right. Have use purchase intent, find purchase intent keywords, put those in your page titles, URL slugs, H1s, and beginning of the first sentence. No,
Right.
that's number
Okay.
one.
Okay. Right. Number one, they've probably already done that. So carry on.
Number two is build links, because then you're going to rank better, you're going to get discovered more,
That's
and your relevance.
that's just SEO. Carry on.
No, I know, but these are
But
specific
but,
things
but that's basic stuff. Like so, I don't
but that's
right.
what I'm
Okay.
saying. That's what I'm
Right.
saying.
I'm gonna have a out you in this a little bit. Right.
Yeah, all right, let's do it.
Because I could have said the basic stuff. Right.
But that's what I thought you were going to say.
You were trying.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
But I don't want to say that stuff. What's the point? Everyone
Why?
knows that. Everyone knows that.
No, that's not true. That's not
No,
true.
no,
That's
no.
why. If that was
They
the
should.
case, you wouldn't have these CMOs falling for the GEO Grift.
Well,
If
I
that was
mean, that's a different story. I, I've written this stuff years ago, right? So I don't repeat myself. I hate repeating myself. You know this commodity content thing, right? Commodity content.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's why I stopped writing about search for a while. Started writing again because I had a lot of things to say again because things got interesting. I said all this stuff like 10, 15 years ago. And
Yo,
like hundreds of
But
people have
David,
said it. Hundreds of
You're a
people have said it.
marketer.
So
David, you're a marketer. You know that people need to hear the same thing multiple times before they take action.
but they've heard it 100,000 times. If it hasn't
They
sunk in
need
by now,
100,001.
well, it's not going to sink in if I say it for the
Yeah.
101,000th time. Like honestly,
Maybe
like
it will.
I'm
Head
not
of
saying
content at Ahrefs. Head of
like,
content at
yeah.
Ahrefs here.
So I'm not saying like I disagree. Like they're good. It's good advice. I agree with you. But like it's basic
Yeah.
stuff. Like
Yeah, yeah,
basic
yeah.
stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure,
And
for
like
sure, for sure.
so I like. I mean, I when
Basic
you
stuff, but that's the stuff that will get the most results. Literally, that's going to get the like. I guess the other thing might be, okay, find all the listicles that are being cited the most, and then offer to pay the authors to get your brand in a high position. That's
right.
the other.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll give you this one, but I'll tell you what the way it should be done and the way I did it for years before LLMs.
please.
The first thing I did when I took on an e-commerce client, and I've always done, was go and find and it's all spammed to death and destroyed now. But I would go and find affiliate sites that had these top 10 listicles back. This is like 10 years ago or five, before LLMs. And I would, because most e-commerce sites have an affiliate program, and I would go out and just make sure you were included in these listicles because and it, it wasn't to do with getting cited in the LLMs. It was just this
It's
is being held.
sales. You want to make
Yeah,
money. You want to give. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So I would. I mean, the problem is now it has been so spammed. Like I'm almost like if I told someone, if an e-commerce client came to me and I said to them, well, what we want to do is we want to go and find the lists of the top 10 X for Ys and want to make sure you're included on that. They think I was a spammer, but I wasn't.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not.
crazy.
You want to be you want to be in these
This is
listicles
normal
because
PR. This is normal
yeah,
public relations.
exactly. But the point was they were real listicles or they were real again because obviously I mean I had many affiliate sites over the years and were they real? Maybe not, but they were certainly realer than the brand writing these things themselves. Um, but like it's like people just discovered one non-tactic in the past, but people I actually saw a webinar where someone was like, one of the biggest things about LLMs and AI search visibility is affiliates. You want to be this is and they were talking like it was brand new, as if affiliate marketing was a new thing. Like now you want to be reaching out to affiliates and trying to make sure your brand is included on the list. But like I just look at this stuff and I'm like, why were you not doing that for the last decade? Why were you not doing that for the last 15 years? What were you doing? Honestly, sorry, I'm ranting on a bit here. But like a lot of the time I look at this stuff and I think, well, what were you what did you do? What did you actually do? Because I was doing all this stuff for years. And I was talking about this stuff for years. And in my opinion, in my mind, everyone else was doing this, but it turns out probably people weren't. I think what's happened over the last few years has actually exposed a lot of our industry, to be honest, for the laziness and the
Yeah.
clients as commodities, basically. Get them in out. Now it's outsourced to AI, but for a long time it was outsourced to wherever. Take their cut. Maybe the chart goes up. Sometimes charts go up just because of time, because of nothing you did. Sometimes charts just go up if you don't do anything stupid. Take the money, move on with your life. I like, and people talking about PR and like, I've always been a PR type link builder. That's been my approach. I've always gone for. I've never been a huge one on. I build links to pages and whatnot to an extent, but I would always go for branded PR campaign
Those
type.
are my favorite types too because the links that drive qualified referral traffic, and
Yeah,
qualified referral traffic. Those are the best links,
exactly. Yep, yep.
and they
Uh,
matter for LLMs.
yes, no, absolutely, absolutely, and that's like it seems to be people have very much not been doing this, and like some major people with prominent voices, because again they treat it like it's a new thing. It's a new thing for
So wait,
GEO.
I want to ask you. There's this. You said there's this person who is doing really well. If you search, if you prompt, who are the top like AI search experts, and then there's this
Hmm.
person who will come up all the time. But this person is actually a grifter. So my
I wouldn't
question
say
is,
I wouldn't say it was a grift is too strong for this.
okay,
If
because
it's the
I
one
wanted
that
to ask. I wanted to ask if this person is so full of if the person is like a BSer, how come this person is getting named the number one AI search person?
because they're a spammer, because they're spamming. You can
Okay,
spam. If you spam, then spam works sometimes.
yeah,
I
yeah.
could
So,
you could go and
but
write the
well,
listicles.
the
I could go
question,
and write the
the
listicles. Some of
the
us choose not
question,
to do that.
the question is, so okay, so then, how long do you think the listicle strategy will work for, and will there come a point where like people like this are they're going to fall out because these listicles aren't going to rank anymore, or do you think like, actually there could be some longevity to the strategy?
I think there's, I mean, again, it goes back to if there's longevity to the strategy, then we have problems. The web is destroyed. Um, I've looked at a lot of these websites. Like I've got a couple of tools my own that I use to look at crawl a website and then look at the percentage of listicles and whatnot, and self-aggrandizing listicles in particular. And this guy I'm talking about, 20% of his website is listicles, ranking as himself at number one.
I'm gonna do this right now on ChatGPT. I want to. Who are the top AI search
You're not going to pin me
experts?
down on this.
I'm not. Well, I'm not gonna say the name. I want to just see if I want to see if I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I recognize this. No, no. It's saying people like Sam Altman and Sundar, uh,
Right, well,
and
they
Jensen.
probably, I,
Yeah, yeah. I'm not getting the SEO people. I literally my prompt was, who are the top AI search experts?
right. I mean, it's probably a reasonable answer if you actually think about it. They,
Actually, I don't
although,
think I
although
got
Sam,
any
although Sam Altman's probably not a good example because I don't think he knows what day of the week it is. Never mind how his
top
pipeline actually operates.
top AI search experts for getting cited in ChatGPT or LLMs. I think that's it's a better prompt to use. Let's see if we get like SEO people now. Okay. Okay. Oh my God. This one person who is called the founder of Geo as a discipline.
Founder Geo.
Yeah, the founder. Yeah,
I think the
CEO
Greeks.
of.
I think the Greeks were the founder of Geo.
Oh, is it somebody? Oh wow. Some of these people have been on. Yeah, a bunch of these. Lily Ray is listed here. That's cool. I mean, there's lots of legit people here. To be honest,
Hmm.
I don't. I'm wondering who the spammy person is because there's so many legit names who are here. Lily is here. Aleda's here. Okay, wait. I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. All right, I'm not gonna
Might
because
be.
every
I'm not.
you're right. And a lot of people do know this person. Okay.
Yeah, but the point is, it's not like the whole point of search. Anyway, I always said, like, for a long time with SEO, I always said, like, the main thing is if you want to rank number one, be the best product, be the best service, be the best at
Yeah,
whatever it is you're
but
doing.
that's but that's the flaw. But that's the flaw of product people is that like if you're making something great, you still have to do marketing for it. You still have to get people to find out about it. Even if you are the best, you still
You have to get it
you
out
got to
there.
tell people about it.
Yeah, but the starting point for that, all of that becomes easier
When you have a good
if
product.
you have the best product.
Yeah.
Everything's hard if you're not. If you're just going out, because the problem is everything collapses into you can go and write 10 listicles saying you're the best AI search expert. I can go and write 10 listicles saying I'm the best AI search expert. Joe Blogs from down the street can go and write 10 articles saying he's the best LLM
So
search
let
expert.
me ask you this: if a client came to you and they're like, okay, I want to put up 10 listicles or 20, 30 listicles saying that I am the we are the best so and so.
Mhm.
What would you tell them, and what would your reasoning be,
I would tell them probably not to do it.
and why?
I would tell them to do. It depends on the size of their website as well, and it depends what their website is. If they're a big, huge, if they're a huge site with tens of thousands of pages, then they can probably add 50 listicles and nothing's going to happen. But if they're a smaller business with 500 pages and they add the same 50 listicles, then they're going to have a problem. I,
You
I
think a
mean,
large site can still
I
get away with?
actually, I
Do you think a
actually
large
hate,
site? Oh, go ahead.
I hate the term listicle to be honest. Like
Mm.
listicles to me are BuzzFeed stuff from the like 2010 or whatever. I I had many like I ran for a while like I was doing like affiliate marketing or affiliate sites, and I would 10 best this 10 best that like it's just content. It's just an article. It's just a format of an article.
Yeah.
Um, I would do them in a way that I think was a little bit better. Now everyone just gets Claude to do a paragraph and then five bullet points. Number two, paragraph, five bullet points. Number three, paragraph, five bullet points. Add like the stuff at the top, some FAQs at the bottom. They're all the same. Every single one of them is exactly the same. I used to do so. I would do like if it was an e-commerce business, like you're selling like red shoes, then you probably do want like the 10 best red shoe retailers or something. It's just an article, like it's you maybe do want that, and you want to put forward a strong argument about why you are the best. Um,
Do you think that's true, a strong argument. Do you think a large site they can really put up 50 self-promotion listicles in a short amount of time and be fine?
it depends on the size of the site. Like it really does depend on. I mean, there are large sites that have done it. I've got the so one large. I mean, it's not even a huge amount of pages. It's
Well, they
about
do
four.
it, and then like a lot of them get Mount AI as well.
Well, there's one that's got about 4,000 index pages, and it's got 220 self-promotional listicles, and they've been doing well for about 2 years.
Oh
Um,
wow. So there we go.
you you
It's not
know,
a
like it's the everyone seems to work for them. They seem to be the case study for everyone. They have literally
oh.
got 220 self-promotional. So 5% of the site is self-promotional listicles.
Why do you think it's working for them even though
It's
everybody's
working
talking
for
about
them
it?
because of domain authority. Domain authority
Uh-huh.
masks everything. It's the same as you can get away with
Yeah,
things, and
but
this is the
how about
problem.
Shopify? Shopify put up tons of these self-promotion listicles as
It,
well
some,
and they
it
got hit.
sometimes it sometimes catches up on you, but it can mask things for a long time. People are following the strategies of enterprise businesses, and it,
That's true.
like
And
what
enterprise
what works
businesses
for
have high
enterprise
authority and they
it
can get
does
away
not
with
work
anything.
for exactly, it does not work for 99% of websites.
Right.
Um, yeah, Shopify got hit. Like there are some high profile sites that got hit. There are many clients of some of these tools that have been hit. Um, but this particular site seems to be still churning along quite nicely. But that doesn't mean to say that in a couple of weeks' time, a month's time, 6 months' time, a
Yeah.
year's time, all of a sudden it just doesn't fall
Two
off a
years
cliff.
is a good 2 years is a good stretch. 2 years is a
Well,
pretty solid
it's
stretch.
it is for most businesses, but it's probably not for this businesses because you've got VCs with a lot of money that want to return on that money. They're putting a lot of money into this business, and they ain't going to see that return for 5 to 10 years. So if that business is not around in 3 years because of what they've been doing, then that's not a long stretch.
That's true. I'm surprised that normally when businesses that are doing spam techniques go super they get a lot of attention. Google steps in.
I mean, some of us have been talking about this as well. Like, I think Google's been asleep at the wheel for. I mean, I had a big rant
Yeah.
about Google in
I've had
2020,
people come on the show
20,
and say that too.
2021. Like, I had a big rant about Google. Like, Google's Google. I mean, at the end of the day, they have their own priorities, and they have their own priorities are making revenue on their ads, which they seem to be doing quite well on, judging by the last quarter. Although some of that's a little bit disguised, but that's a different story. But yeah, like Google's priority ultimately is not to satisfy the user. It is not. It's to make ad revenue for and which is why they seem to take a long time. I think now, longer and longer. When Matt Cutts stopped being the sort of public face of Google spam team and whatnot, um, it was a big miss. It was a big sort of loss for the industry, I think.
You think Google doesn't care a ton about it was a big loss. Do you think Google doesn't care about satisfying the user? I would make the argument that they care a lot, especially now
No,
when
I
there's
don't.
so
I
much
don't think. I
competition.
don't think. I don't think Google care about satisfying users. No, I do not. You can look at the search results and see that they don't. They have disrespect for the user.
Well, yeah, but like Reddit, I think Reddit is a good example. It's like what we talked about because like how many people have you met in real life who are like, yeah, I basically append Reddit to all of my searches because I'm dissatisfied with like what we're seeing with SEO and real I want like real answers, user generated content. And so what has Google done? They've served a lot more user generated content, not just Reddit, but all types of UGC. And I would make the argument
Well,
it's like Google is looking at the trends of what searchers want.
I would make the argument that Google wanted access to Reddit data to train their LLMs. They just look at the search results; they get worse and worse every year. It's all designed to trap the user. Trap the
A lot of
user.
people do agree with you, and I see that in the comments of this podcast, and I see that in comments of Search Engine Roundtable posts that I share. A lot of people also agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I would find it hard to, like, AI overviews, for example. AI overviews, the pull to expand, and it takes you out the search result, and you
Yeah,
can't just click like that. That is disrespectful to the user. Why do they do that? Why is that done? That's done to like
change
lead you
behavior.
away from. Yeah, like that's just. It's not. It's being lying strong, but it's being misread.
But maybe they have the data to back up that actually
No, no,
searchers
no,
want
they
this.
they don't, because you can see it all the time. Like it's not like, I mean,
Or
let
that's just an
let's
experiment, and if it doesn't work, then they'll stop doing it.
but it is manipulative and it's misinforming. So it's a you've we all use accordions on websites. We all use expand to see more.
Yeah,
Use the expected behavior of expand to see more is it expands in line. It doesn't take you away from where you are and block. There is no reason for that to block you away from the organic results, other than to take those organic results away and make you ask more questions and stay on for longer, and then ultimately get served more ads. Um, I mean, like Google. I mean, Google's the lesser of, is it lesser? I don't know these days, but like I'm a big Google champion in terms of Google is where the traffic is. Google is still what matters. Google will win the AI race because they have the compute, they have the brain power, they have the access to people, they have the data, they have everything. They have the capital, they have the TPUs. They have, there are so many reasons. They invented the transformer. Like there's so
yeah,
many reasons, but
yeah.
um, like, so I'm a big champion in terms of like when people say, "Oh, you don't need to worry about Google, you need to worry about ChatGPT now." Um, but I'm no Google fanboy these days, and I think what they're doing is very, 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 very disrespectful to the user. And
Yeah,
you cannot find in search now what you were looking for. Search has got worse. Like you used to be able to. I'm saying that's an anecdote, but I think generally, people you used to be able to find what you're looking for. Now Google shows you what it wants you to find.
I don't know. I see.
I think.
I would disagree. Actually, I think I used to have a much harder time finding what I was looking for. Like I would do a search, and then I would get these like super long articles with a ton of fluff at the beginning, and then when I found the section of the article that talked about what I was looking for, it wouldn't even give a direct answer. It wouldn't give a great answer, and I would leave dissatisfied, having wasted time searching through this article trying to find what I'm looking for. And that's been my experience with search for a very long time. And I actually feel like it has gotten better. Now, instead, I get a 30-second YouTube short. There's a much better chance that YouTube short is going to tell me what I want. And even if it doesn't, it's more engaging and it's a lot faster. And my experience has been these like long skyscraper fluff pieces that have wasted my time and so many others.
Yeah, I mean, you could be right. I'm not. This your opinion. It's my opinion.
But
We
but
both
David,
have
I'll
our opinion.
David, I will admit that I am the unpopular voice on this because lots of listeners of this podcast, they do not share or like my opinion on that. Like, yeah, I think search results, like Google has made a genuine effort to try to make search results better. A lot of people, a lot of listeners, SEOs, the community strongly disagrees with me on this one, and
Yeah,
I'm
I
well
mean,
aware of that.
the YouTube Shorts. Like at the end of the day, YouTube is Google's property, and Google owns YouTube. Obviously, and it's in its interest to show YouTube.
TikTok, no,
I
sometimes they
I'm
recommend
not a
TikTok
huge.
and it sucks.
I'm not like I enjoy like maybe I mean I enjoy reading depth guides and and whatnot. Some people don't. Some people like digestible bite-sized content, which the YouTube Shorts are. It depends what you're searching ultimately as well. If you're anything, you used to be able to find everything and anything on Google. It used to be
You think so?
the modern library of Alexandria, the gateway to the world's information. It's not that now. It's a gateway to a slice of the web, a slice of the internet.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's my opinion, but it's an opinion shared by many. But I look at search results every day, obviously,
Well, and
as do we
I'll
all.
say that I think it's become more censored. There's like some things that some people want that you just can't find anymore, and you used to
Yeah.
be able to find that 15 years ago very easily. And
you
that can
can't
be
go in
very
a
frustrating.
you can't go in a like a rabbit hole anymore. You used to be able to go in a like a particular topic or something you wanted to dive deep into, and you go to page 165 of the results. Now everyone just you get 14 pages of results and then nothing. Where did it
So,
all
okay,
go?
I wanna ask you, because you said that prompt tracking is like, you think it's kind of a waste of time. So how should businesses actually measure success in AI search?
So I don't have the answer to that question, and I have cost myself like so. I've prompt tracking is the easiest thing. Like prompt tracking, you could go and set up a prompt tracking thing now, it's literally just scraping. You could use bright data to scrape ChatGPT, use an LLM to extract the prompts, the brands from the answer, track it over time. Um, it's so basic, like anyone can, and that's why we have like 150 million prompt tracking businesses popping up. Um,
So many of them.
but so I have a like platform for things that no other tool seems to do or think about, and I specifically don't do
Queryburst,
prompt.
right?
Yeah, yeah, and I specifically don't do prompt tracking. And people ask me, do you have a prompt tracker? I say no, because prompt tracking's like for the birds. Prompt tracking doesn't work. Uh, and like I could go and add a prompt tracker. Like I could have added a prompt tracker 3 months ago. Like, and it would have given a pretty chart, right? It would have given a pretty chart. But like there's no action. A good quote I heard recently was if you stopped tracking your AI visibility tomorrow, nothing would change about your business.
Yeah,
People are just
I
looking at
agree with
these
that.
lines and these dashboards,
I
and
agree
they
with that.
just don't tell you anything.
I
Um,
agree with that.
so how do you measure it? I generally I do look at the answers to prompts. Obviously, I do look at them. But like the core main topics and services and whatnot, not for a business. I don't obsessively track them because they're probabilistic. I have I know how to get into them. I have a process that I use that gets you into AI overviews and AI mode, like pretty much guaranteed that I use. I've spoke about it a lot. I mean, people don't seem to be following it for some reason, but I had sort of two bigger articles that were like I wrote the ChatGPT one, which I think um, it was quite widely shared. Then I wrote a follow up in February or something, or even January, which is more focused on AI mode, and it sort of slipped under the radar. Um, if you have a service business and if you're ranking top 10 to top 20 and you follow this process, Google's going to show you in its AI mode and AI overviews
What's the process?
because of the
What's the
way.
process? What's the process? We got to
Go
know.
and I've written about it. There's 5,000 words you can read about it, or you can watch a 19-minute video.
If you, it's
I have a
5,000
tool. I
words.
have a
If you,
tool that
what's the TLDR for the listeners?
I'm not telling you, go and watch the video.
Oh my gosh.
I've written about it so many times. Like, it's there. There's a video where I walk through the process of doing it. And there's a 5,000 word blog post which explains why it works. And it works because of the maths. But you don't need to worry about the
It
maths.
it it works
You
because of what?
because of the maths or the math
The
or
maths.
or
Hmm.
American press.
The math.
And yeah, like I've written it, I'm not gonna I've talked about it many times and like people can choose to ignore it and they have, but I'm using it to rank service businesses like straight into the AI overviews.
What's the name of the article?
Uh the busting the geo jargon.
Busting the geo jargon. Why you're
Yeah,
probably overcomplicating AI search.
yeah. That there, right at this moment in time, if you follow that process and if you want, you can
SEO
use.
has always been about reverse engineering. Oh man. You're the path of least resistance. You're short circuit the fan out. You short circuit the fan out. Okay. Interesting.
So honestly, this was like my ChatGPT article got very widely shared, like a lot of citations and whatnot. And I mean citations by humans, not by ChatGPT. Still gets a lot of traffic to the website. Like it still brings in traffic, like organically, socially. But that article there is actually if you want to like do something, going back to what you said, what should you do today to show up in more in answers? Go and do this because it worked. It might not work tomorrow, but at the moment it works because of the way that AI overviews work and the way query fanout works and the way the maths works behind the scenes. But yeah, I've talked about it a lot. Like I've done it in many. I say a lot. I don't like. I'm not. I'm the. I'm. I like to think I'm a good marketer, but I'm a terrible salesman, and I hate like. I don't. I feel if I share something once or twice, I don't want to share it a third time because I feel like I'm being spammy, which I'm not ultimately. But I've talked about this like a lot, and it's out there, and if people can choose to ignore it or test it, and like I'm also if someone thinks I'm wrong, they can tell me I'm wrong, but like I've done this quite a lot of times now, and it works. You have to rank. You have to rank top 10, top 20, but and it also helps if you know what you're doing with SEO. If you know how to optimize a page generally to boost its rankings, and then you do these specific things, then because of the maths that's going on behind, because AI mode and AI overview, the way it works, it generates an answer, an expected answer or parts of answers. Then that's where the query fanouts go. They pull in the bits of results, and then basically it's after the fact citation. So it's basically just matching the bits that support. It's like the LLM knows the answer. It doesn't know anything, but we'll just say it knows the answer. And it's like, yeah, that backs up what I say. So that's the citation. That's what I'll use in the answer. And you can change, but you can change that. This is where going back to this influence in the answer. You can influence that answer if you know what the things are that it's looking for, and you do that by probing rather than looking at the. If you look at best X for Y, you don't look at best X for Y. You look at the. You're looking at the things that it's looking for, the things that it learned in its pre-training. When the LLMs basically learn concepts, words, in semantics, things that are associated with specific types of service or information. And that's where its knowledge is formed. So you want to try and get to know what that part of semantic space is that you're trying to target, um, or vector space. And then you use these words without thinking about the maths, and then the maths aligns and you become the answer. Does it work 100% of the time? Doesn't work 100% of the time, but it works a lot of the time, and it works a lot better a lot of the time than adding LLMs.txt or Schema. And it is not
Yeah.
spam. It's not spam. It's just surfacing the things that you. It's being honest about your business and surfacing those honest things in a way that's extractable by LLMs. Um, and I don't want to wrap that in. It's not LLMs can parse human text perfectly fine. It's just making them prominent and making that the bit that's retrieved that then matches the answer. But it's just, I mean, I see that as SEO. It's not like it's just a new thing in SEO. It's not some new geo thing. And weirdly, it's more effective than any geo tactic that exists other than spam. So, I mean, this is what you can do without having to write 50 million listicles. Um, and, it works.
Yeah, I'm looking through this. Go to your LLM overlord of choice and ask questions like the following: what specific criteria should I consider when evaluating a plumber in Austin? So I guess this is if you're a plumber in Austin.
Yeah,
What are the red
whatever the service is in whatever location.
Right. What are the red flags to avoid when hiring an emergency plumber? What specific licenses? So there's all these questions. So you run all these questions, you copy the answer, then and and then you said these are the service specific questions for product pages, adapt the questions. Okay. And then you build a spreadsheet with this criteria that you just got, and then you're getting prompts. So basically, is it you're trying to, and this is me looking at it right now while we're talking.
Mhm.
Um, so are you trying to predict the query fanouts?
You don't need to worry about the query fan.
You're
You
trying to
worry.
predict what you're trying to predict the language that
Yes,
an
that's going to
LLM.
be the
Yeah,
answer. The things that it
yeah.
knows, again, knows is wrong. LLMs don't know anything. It's just predicting a token. But in its pre-training, when it ingested the internet, people that host podcasts have FDU, CE mics. I don't know what that type of mic is. But it learned that people that are good podcast hosts have that type of mic. It
Oh, thank you.
learned that people that are good at SEO have silly headphones. Like so all these things anyway, I'm making stuff. You know what I mean? It learned that
Yeah.
the plumber needs these licenses, the SEO consultant should have a certain amount of experience, whatever the things are for whatever the service is. It learned these things because it ingested the internet, and these things show up prominently. When you ingest a large corpus of text, certain words are repeated alongside certain types of service or business or whatnot. And the LLM has an opinion on what the answer is and what the best type of business is for that particular service or product. And if you can
So
sort of
you're
give it these things gift wrapped, then it's gonna choose the path of least resistance. Um, and you shortcut the query funnel by doing this. And
so you're
like
like
again, people
yeah,
can
go on.
disagree with me on this, but I'm doing it for I don't do much client work these days because I've been focused on building out my platform. But like I'm doing it for businesses and you could not get more competitive, could not get more competitive, and they go straight into the AI overviews, and they stay there. They stay there because they're not lying, they're not spamming, they're just surfacing the things
Yeah.
in the way that is expected to be seen. And as I say, it's not GEO, it's just you're going back to that article. That's how search, that's how SEO. That's what we did. We looked at things and we reverse engineered what was happening behind the scenes, and then some of us did things in a spammy way. Some of us just chose to do it in a more ethical, or not ethical. Ethical is the wrong words. Ultimately, is it unethical to add a listicle? No, it's not unethical, but you get my point. But like we looked at how it was working, we reverse engineered it, and then we did the things that to rank for the queries. And this is just the same thing. It's just a new surface for information. AI answers are just a new way of presenting information, and this like you can go and read Google's patents, which I did. I mean, unfortunately, Bill Slosky is a sad, sad miss. He was one of my favorite people in SEO for a long, long time. Him and Eric Ward were two of my favorite. Also, like sadly missed. Like
RIP.
Eric Ward was like I loved his method of link building and whatnot. Um, and Bill Slosky and he's like reverse engineering and his the patents and whatnot. Like I mean, no one seems to do this anymore. This is what I mean. No one does this kind of stuff anymore. Everyone just goes and does a 2 million data study of 2 million stupid answers to 2 million stupid prompts that no one ever
Yeah.
types into a search engine or an answer engine. I'm doing that a lot. Let's stop doing that. But yeah,
Yeah, and then there actually, so you said basically right for humans and then for AI in that order. Right for humans first.
right for
Like
humans
that.
first. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely
And
right for humans.
cover the key criteria like up front, so you're kind of summarizing the most important points clearly in the first 200 to 300 words,
Yeah, I
which
mean,
I
LLMs summarize. That's what large language models are. They're a compressed version of human knowledge, compressed version of the internet. And in retrieval and in RAG, they also summarize tokens. Inference is the expensive part of AI search, and like tokens in are they don't get full pages. They tend to get chunks. I don't like using the word chunks, but this is where it actually is. Chunks
yeah.
is not. It's not on you to chunk your text. Chunks is a word of part of the retrieval side. Um, but yeah, so tokens out are more expensive. Tokens in are inference is the expensive part. and they're designed to summarize compressed information. So you want to give them a summarized compressed information. I mean, to be honest, LLMs like they are useful idiots. They just I don't know. Like I mean, this is my opinion. Like, but I've followed AI for like you know 15 years, but more seriously for 10, 11 years. I had a website 10 years ago on AI news in like 2015 or something.
Wow.
I
Wow.
mean, I'm saying this, I only ran it for about 2 weeks and I got bored with it. But like, I did set up, it was like, I set up an AI news website in like 2014, 2015. I've been obsessed with AI for a long time. Because, I mean, Google has always been an AI company. They've said that, you know. LLMs are not in my opinion, and in many people's opinion, are not AI, you know, and they're not going to lead to AGI, they're not going to lead to ASI, and they're always going to hallucinate. Pardon me, excuse me. Hallucinations can't be solved because of the nature of the models and you know tuning temperature and whatnot. They have to have the randomization is baked in because otherwise they would always every query would return the same text effectively. So that's why the temperature tuning in LLMs is there, so that you get variation in the answers. They're basically massive article spinners. Like it's like they can do impressive things. Like they can. I mean, there's no point. I'm not a luddite. I'm not blind. They can do very impressive things, but there's a limitation to those things, and the cost of doing those things is also like, I mean, the capital that's been spent on these things um, does not justify. I mean, what are we actually? What is everyone? What is the use case? What are people using LLMs for? People are coding things that no one uses. People are writing 10 best plumbers in Austin articles at scale. Um, I mean, it's like marketers destroy everything. It's an amazing technology that, with fantastic use cases and like, but it's not it's not what it's being marketed as, and they're getting shoehorned into absolutely everything. Um,
Something else that you wrote in this piece, one last thing that I want to call out that I like is that you basically say write in a way that makes content easy to extract.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, that's so important, and a lot of people don't think about that.
yeah, absolutely. But again, that goes back to the way that you should always really have good writing. Like easy to extract is also easy to understand and simple and
Yes,
digestible.
yes,
And going back to how
yes.
people talk in this marketing and corporate speak, you know, I've always tried to. I mean, these days I tend to like after things I write tend to be sarcastic comments about geo, but you know, like when I'm trying to explain something or explain something to the best of my ability, I try to use simple language, and that's nothing to do with LLMs in particular. Uh,
This is the
but
best way
yeah,
to do marketing.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
I want to ask you a personal question. So you've been involved in SEO since 1997. I want to know, how did you first get into search, and then what kept you engaged through so many algorithm updates?
So the very first, I mean, I say I've been involved in SEO from 1987. The first website I did would have been yeah, like late '97 was my band's website. This is my first experience with SEO. It's slightly I wasn't an SEO consultant since 1997 because it didn't exist in 1997, or it did to a very small degree. So you know, my band's website in 1997. They were a band in Glasgow. I was like 16 at the time, uh, and I mean, this was pre-Google. Google was 98, so it was like you could literally at the time my band was called Surround. This is my first dabbling in SEO all these years ago. Band was called Surround, and this was the days of MP3 downloads, audio and whatnot. No one was searching for surround MP3s. What were people searching for? They were searching for Beatles MP3s, or these were the bands. This is my music. It's the Beatles and Travis at the time and whatnot. So anyway, at the time, you just pop that in your title tag: Beatles MP3, Travis MP3. I mean, it's literally a list of keywords in the title. And sure enough, like these all ranked, and then So my small band website in 1997 was suddenly getting hundreds of, called them hits at the time, a day, and downloads of our music from people searching for like big bands, their MP3s. Um, I mean, didn't really do as much good in the end, but some people got some music they probably didn't like, but it's a different story. But yeah, so that was 97, 98. Like I probably did my first. I was also a web designer, a web developer, a programmer. So I probably did my first client website, which would have been a Zimbabwean coffee company of all things. Because I was in a company that just started moving in. I started in a company in 97. I started moving into web design and search because this was like new, just it was a new thing. And I did a website for a Zimbabwean coffee company. Search was it was still very naive, but like did the things that would rank the website back then. Then this business then had e-commerce, so I started doing e-commerce stuff. Clients. I was talking about this recently actually. So here's one like going way back. One of the prominent again answer engine optimization folks. One of the things they appear to be doing at the moment, they appear to be, they may or may not, looks like it's them. It's creating basically microsite, sort of like doorway page, not quite doorway page, but microsite. Um, they're creating like 100 websites in the AI search thing that are basically recommending them, and they seem to be quite proud of this. And apparently, they're recommending other businesses do the same. Now, in 2002, because I was discussing this recently, in 2002, I had like so the company I was in was starting to do more client stuff, and it was a ramps company in England, and we created like 10 because doorway pages was just a thing. Like it wasn't. This is going back to the experimentation side. Like it wasn't like there was nothing to say don't make doorway pages. It was like, well, why don't we try and do this and see what happens? That was what where we were at. So it was like we created like 10 micro website basically feeding into the main site. They were exact match domains at the time. They cost a fortune because domains were like ridiculously expensive. This was pre-GoDaddy and everything. Anyway, it worked and there was
Wow.
10 of them. And then soon enough, like the guy went a bit mad and he registered like 250 of these domains and we had like 250 websites for every single blooming keyword under the sun feeding back into this ramp site. But yeah, I mean, that was 2002. I wouldn't do that. Like I wouldn't have done that after 2004, and I would certainly not be doing that these days. But one very prominent company that's raised a lot of money is doing that, and they're well, maybe doing that, appear to be doing that, and probably sounds like they're recommending some of their clients do the same thing. But we're
I
like
have a question
literally
for you.
throwing back 20 years. Like, sorry, carry on.
No, I have a question. So you've done a ton of SEO experiments. So I want to know, like, what are some SEO experiments that you really love?
Like, I liked one things I like doing are it wasn't so much an experiment, but I was like looking through some of my old case studies recently because it was on the Ahrefs thing, right? Ahrefs came out and said this thing about like our content pipeline. You probably saw it, yeah? You
I
saw
think so.
Ahrefs,
I see
yeah?
everything
Right.
except apparently for your for this
So,
5,000 word busting the geo jargon.
no one saw that. Maybe I saw it.
Well, now they're going to see
Um,
it. I'll share it in the
well,
description.
um, so anyway, like Ahrefs had this article about how they're now automating a lot of their content. And it kind of depressed me, to be honest, because one of the things was when I was like editing the Ahrefs blog, I spent, and this was why I ended up not doing it in the end, because like pissed him off probably because like I would every single thing I wrote, I wanted to make sure there was something new, something like it goes back to this commodity content thing. Like I can't write commodity content. I can write everything I published had to have some new process or a new way of looking at things. And like this is where a lot of the honestly, like a lot of the best practices, and I don't know, like I don't like blowing my own trumpet, but there are a lot of things I've written that become best practices over the years and the accepted way of doing things that I was if not the first, was one of the first to be doing these things. But anyway, like I ended up looking at some of the old Ahrefs stuff, and there was an article, and I say experiment, it was an experiment. I did do it. So there was a viral piece of content on. It was a Coke infographic, and I'll send you the article. And it's on like archive.org. Everything, it's because stuff gets refreshed and redirected. It's not live anymore, but it's on archive.org. And there was a quote infographic that went viral. Here's what happens to your body 5 hours after drinking a can of Coke, and it got like thousands of shares. It got thousands of links. The website traffic went way up. Um, so what did I do? I didn't just write about this. I didn't just report it. What I did was I said I'm going to replicate the process. I'll do the same thing. So I created it was what happens after an Englishman drinks a can of Iron Brew. I created a similar infographic, but kind of satirical, same kind of thing. Did it for one. I had a load of test sites and small sites at the time. Ran it for that. Got like mental amount of traffic, huge traffic, and like tons of links from high DR sites, and documented and shared the whole process. I said, and like I did another experimental thing. I was talking about maps, and I published an article saying maps are like this is in 2016ish. I was saying like maps are something you should be doing now. Very popular with the media. They still are like still people still do it. Like maps always work well. In this state, what's the most popular dish or whatever. The kind of thing. So I published a thing on that explaining the process, and then I said, now I'll do the same, and I'll do the same and report back the results. So I did the same, and I, it was always like I always tried to either create something new or demonstrate or go out and eat my own dog food and show that I was doing things and show how it worked. And I would always like I would do things on my own websites and things because like ultimately there's a difference. I've never really some from time to time I'll share client stuff, but like most of the time I don't. I'll like have my own experimental sites that I'll do things on and then share it publicly because I think I think when like a client pays you for a service, you should be slightly not. I mean, people will argue the other thing, but I don't think you should necessarily be sharing the tactics you use and what you've done for them because then their competitors can copy it. And if someone happens to be Google or whatnot and thinks it's maybe a bit manipulative, ultimately we do everything to rank higher or get more traffic. Everything is manipulative. Whether I say I'm right white hat, ultimately I'm trying to get higher rankings. So everything is manipulative to an extent. So I've always, when I do case studies and whatnot, I tend to do them on my own properties, my own websites and things. And if, I do something that doesn't work out, then all I've burned is myself. But I've always been like of the opinion you shouldn't necessarily be sharing uh, client stuff publicly. But other people disagree strongly on that. I worked in a company from '97 till 2006, which was doing web design and SEO, and became more SEO as that grew. Then I started my own e-commerce business in 2006 to 2012. Um, it is a long story. Um, but I ended up with like a physical retail location, employing 20 staff doing
Wow.
and the retail business, like the physical business, consumed the e-commerce business, sucked up all its money. Went through this was 2006. We went through 2008, 2009 with a bricks and mortar like business. Yeah, long story short, it was a highly competitive industry. It was like as competitive as it gets, and we ranked for all the stuff. Turned over a lot of money. In the end, the money didn't particularly stick around. The, the retail business sort of sucked it up. Um,
Before we go, I wanna ask if you can explain your company Queryburst and what problems it solves.
what problems it solve? It solves the problems that people are talking about on stages at the moment and haven't thought about solving. Is the answer to that question. All the things that people are talking about people are talking about knowledge graph, for example. Queryburst turns your website into knowledge graph. People are talking about cosine similarity. They're talking about centroids. I have tools for cosine similarity for centroids. Um, it allows you to see your website the way AI sees your website. It gives you a view that you can't see anywhere else. It has tools that I've been. Answer Spy is one of the tools that does this process that I talk about in this blog post. I've been building the tools that no one else has, basically. No one else has thought about these tools. And I've been doing them based on my own experimentation, my own research, my own knowledge, and building tools that basically won't destroy your website. Um, I'm not like I can't do hype. I'm not a hype guy. I'm not a sales guy. Like at the end of the day, I'm not going to stand here and say my website will get you number one on ChatGPT. You know, like that's not what it's all about. But I think it's. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a. It works. It works very well. It has the tools that everyone else is talking about, and no one like, or people are starting to talk about. People are starting to talk about.
Like what? Like what?
Well, like I said, like people are talking about knowledge graphs. So it crawls a website. So you crawl. I've limited it to 5,000 pages, which should be fine for most e-commerce, like mid-sized e-commerce businesses. And it would have been fine for most SaaS businesses until they started adding thousands of stupid pages. But for most businesses, it's fine. And I may up that in future. Every single page gets compressed the way LLMs would compress, summarize, extract. And all the entities get extracted. So everyone's talking about entities. So I extract all the entities from all the content, every single page, turn it into a knowledge graph, and subject, predicate, object, Edward has a podcast. You know the thing. Every single page is then becomes a walkable, explorable. No, I've shared this stuff on Twitter and LinkedIn and whatnot. You can then explore your site as a knowledge graph, and you can see how AI would compress your site. Because like my article, for example, a good example is my 5,000 word article. What did you do? You skimmed it, didn't you? And you pulled out a few things that were the key points. And let's be honest, I like to write things like in a way because I write start to finish most of the time, and I think people like to read like that, but most people don't. Most people like to just get the summary, the TLDR, and that's exactly what LLMs do. It's the TLDR. Uh, And Queryburst, once it crawls your website and compresses it into the TLDR, the AI would compress your website into the TLDR of. So let's say a 5,000 word website, roughly, I've crawled a lot, it's about 5 million words. That 5 million words gets compressed down to, say, 200,000 words, and then it gets compressed further down to 10,000 entities and like 20,000 relationships between those entities. And then you can see your whole website like what it tells you what your website's about. You can also verify facts and claims. So everyone talks about claims. It's important to make sure your facts are consistent, make sure your claims are validated by evidence. You can go and do all that because it's everything's in a vector data. Your whole website's in a vector database. You can talk to your website, you can query it, you can find things, you can verify the facts, verify the claims. You can talk to your Search Console data, you can view, you can't track prompts because I refuse to do it, but you
So
can view.
it's a good way to visualize your site in the context of AI so that you can use this information to improve your visibility.
Yes, kind of, yeah, kind of. I mean, I should probably work on my elevator pitch, but like,
Well,
I mean,
I
honestly,
appreciate that.
at the end of the day, look, I don't know. I don't
I
hype
appreciate
stuff
you
and I
sharing
don't.
it.
Yeah, I don't hype stuff and I don't like. I can't. I just can't do it. Like I don't. I haven't even reached. Like I'm sent a single email to anyone about it. I just share things and hope they get seen.
Oh,
But
I was just looking. I was looking through your stuff in preparation for this, and I'm like, yeah, I gotta ask him about Queryburst.
yeah. I mean, like I'll say, like I'll. Well, I will go more in trouble a second. It's like it's better than it's better than anything else that's out there on AI set.
Last
If you want,
question.
yeah, sorry, carry
Oh,
on.
no, no. If I want what?
Yeah, like if someone wants a platform that, yeah, if they're prepared to do some work, you have to be prepared to do some work. If you're prepared to do some work and you don't want to just scale content block spam with Claude, then I have the best platform for doing that. Um, but that's up to the business overall for me. Sorry,
Last
carry on.
question. Last question, David, is what skills do you think will be most important for SEOs over the next 10 years?
Um, that's a good question. That's a good question. I think I think ultimately SEO is to me has always been it has always been marketing. It is I've always seen it as marketing psychology, and I think I actually I'm not gonna I'm gonna give credit to like I watched a bit of your podcast with Will Reynolds, and like I agree with him. Like I'm gonna say the same thing, which is really anno it's not annoying because like, but I just agree with him, and it's what I would say. It's like it's understanding authenticity, trust. You know, being able to do things for a brand that are gonna not get them burned, increase their trust on the web, increase their trust with humans, which will increase their trust with AIs, LLMs, or whatever it happens to be. Authenticity, and I think more and more, like people are going to be looking for a human voice to brands, like and like pe- everyone, we're in this bubble with AI, like we really are. Like most people, most I don't like to use general sweeping terms, most people, but I would say it is most people, and there's studies that back this up. Like they cannot stand getting served up this slop. Um,
Yeah,
and I think like
I
the most
agree.
important thing to me is just like knowing how to connect with humans. And is it SEO? Am I being evasive here? I feel it's SEO because it's what I've done is I've always like tried to do things or promote things or put things out that leads to humans sharing them, linking to them, which improves the rankings of the website. So I feel it's SEO. It feels evasive, but the problem is like Claude can do technical things, but you know it can't do that. Also, I think to be honest, um, one of the good things is LLMs have trained on such misinformation over the past 6 months with regards to SEO and internet
Oh,
marketing
it's
that I think,
hilarious.
yeah, yeah, and so I think that's going to be a big problem. It already is a problem because you can see it. You can see the stuff that people are saying, and they're getting advice to do this by Claude or whatnot. Um,
I'll tell you if you are not in the SEO industry and you're trying to do SEO in just any other industry, because SEO is a very competitive industry to do SEO in. So you're trying to do SEO in like, I don't know, furniture or
yeah,
logistics or something like that.
dry, boring industry.
Your competitors are going to be doing SEO. A lot of them are going to be doing SEO based on the BS that LLMs tell them,
Yeah,
and they are not going to get great results. It's going to
no,
be so
no.
easy for you if you actually know how to do proper SEO, if you know how
Hmm.
to do relevance, if you know how to build authority, you know how to
Yeah,
do that stuff. You are going to just completely outperform the competition. And it's a really exciting time, I think, to
yeah,
be an SEO actually because of the AI slop. I made an episode about that because so many people are spinning up these terrible AI sites where literally the AI just spins it up from like 0 to 100.
yeah,
It's not satisfying intent. It's people are pogo sticking. Your competition has terrible content and is not even a great SEO strategy. And all you have
yeah,
to do is come in there and do methodical SEO, and it's so
hmm
easy for you to win. It's
yeah,
so
yeah,
easy for you to win, and
yeah.
I'm hyped.
No, I think I do agree with you. I do agree with you. Yeah, it's everyone's collapsing to this average of the average, and if you can just be above that average now, there's a huge opportunity.
And it's very
Uh,
easy to be above that average.
yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting. Like I expect there'll be like another Google update or something, or an OpenAI update in the way they retrieve. It's going to really
Maybe
take
Google
down some of the big.
secretly, maybe Google isn't asleep at the wheel, and right now there's several teams of engineers in the
Perhaps.
in multiple Google offices around the world, and they're planning this huge thing that's going to completely change. I don't know. That's maybe that's wishful thinking. We'll see. David McSweeney, you are a legend in SEO. So I'm so
I don't
grateful
know.
to have
I don't
had
know
you on
about
the
that.
show. No, you are,
Wouldn't put
and
I'm not in any listicles. No one puts me in listicles.
well, actually, Jano, just the other day I was sharing an Ahrefs article, and you were cited in that Ahrefs article. It was like the study of 1.4 million ChatGPT
Oh
prompts.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
yeah, you were cited in that. And I'm like, oh, cool. He's coming on the show in a few days. So, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you, David. And
Thanks for having me.
all your links will be in the description for this episode. This is episode 1034 of The Edward Show, 1034 days in a row doing this podcast. No days missed. If you watch us on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. If you listened on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thank you so much for listening. And I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye now.